What's up, everybody? What's up, all you men's league legends, women's league legends, adult hoopers, still trying not to get hurt in all those games? Welcome back. We are in for another edition, going to be talking about NBA playoffs, NHL playoffs, as we kind of get down to the end here with only hopefully we get to 2 Game 7s this week. But, it's been a wild ride. It's been a fun journey these last couple months. I feel like it's been forever, these playoffs. But hey, we're getting close to the end, so can't wait to talk about, what we've seen over the last month and a half here as we get going. Once again, we got the boys, Steven Vesci and Steven Comlow here.
What up?
What's going on? Hey, Doug.
Hey, Doug.
What's up? How you guys feeling today?
Oh, man, I'm fired up. I'm ready to go.
I know Comlow's fired up. I'm a little tired, but I'm hoping to bring the energy needs to come back up.
Dude, we had such a busy last week in sports, and I'm ready to just talk about all of it with you guys.
Sports.
I'm there.
Sports.
Yeah.
Great. Yeah, it's a great final last stretch before we just have baseball. Nothing against baseball. I love baseball. My O's are trying to make a little comeback here in the season.
Suck.
Our O's.
We've won
O's.
in the last what?
We're 11 out of
games?
11 and 4 in the last 15.
Yeah. So don't count us out.
I'm counting you out.
At that pace, we would end up winning 97 games this year.
There's hope.
Yeah.
And we got reinforcements coming. Don't get me started.
We're only getting healthier.
Do not let us back in.
Give me the reinforcements. Who's coming?
You should have stepped on our necks.
Where do I start?
Start.
We've been without Grayson Rodriguez. He'll be back. It looks like mid-July.
Desperately
We
need
got Kyle Bradish coming back, who was looking like one of the best pitchers in the American League before he got hurt last year.
Yes.
The sub-3 ERA. So he'll be back in August. We have Tyler Wells, who also was pitching under a 4 ERA before he got hurt last year. He'll be back in August. So, yeah, when we finally got Westberg back, which is, I think he is the catalyst for everything in an offensive lineup. He gets on base. He hits righties and lefties. He's been a major addition. He's been out for most of the season. Colton Cowser broke his thumb in the second week of the season, first week of the season. Ooh, that's right. So we got, not to get sidetracked on the baseball, but
now you're outnumbered. Let's go.
6.5 back.
Oh, plenty of time. We're not even close.
That's the wild card, by the way. 6.5 back of the wild card.
Hashtag vote orange for All-Star break.
You heard it.
Who's going to be in?
You heard it here first. We will make the playoffs. You heard it here first.
All right,
and
mark
if we
that
get
clip.
in, if you let us in, watch out.
Yeah, scorned lovers.
You better hope those pitchers come back ready to go. Because that's the Orioles' biggest problem is pitching, and their offseason moves didn't help them.
It's been our biggest problem every time we're bad.
Yeah.
Yep.
All right, let's get into the playoffs.
Jackson? Is Jackson coming along?
He's great. Well. Jackson's amazing.
260s. He's having a much better year. He's still only, 21, 22?
If that. Yeah.
He's a baby. All right, so what we're going to do today, boys, just to keep things interesting, we are going to go down and think about the NHL playoffs, the NBA playoffs in its entirety. And we're going to basically go over what we think is either the most surprising thing to you guys of the NHL, NBA playoffs, or the least surprising. So what you expect that was going to happen did happen, and what did you not see coming and you definitely did not have on your bingo card to start both of these playoffs. And we'll just go and we'll talk about it and see what you guys think. And we'll just go one by one.
Okay.
Any takers for the first kind of pick?
Yeah, I'll go ahead and kick this off, okay? And I'm gonna start with my weaker of the two sports. I'm gonna start with basketball, but I think what's most surprising to me, and it might just be because I don't know him. He might be a quiet personality, but it's surprising to me that more people aren't talking about Pascal Siakam. It seems like any time that this championship series is being brought up, obviously we're talking about Haliburton. We've talked so much about him in the last couple weeks and the clutch factor that's there with Tyrese Haliburton. And we're talking about Jalen Williams and we're talking about SGA. But I rarely in conversations at work, on here, or even when I flip on ESPN or Fox Sports, do I hear Pascal Siakam's name come up. And I think that's really surprising to me because I think he's the best player on that team. I think he's easily the most consistent player on the team. And just look down their box scores for any of these series games. He's consistently, if not the highest scoring player, the most played, and probably the first or second highest scoring player on the team. So that's kind of where I'm coming from with this.
That's a great first pick. I think the reason is his points. He does it quietly. You'll be like,
Yes.
oh, I wonder what Pascal, does he have like 12 points so far this game? It's like, wait, he has 20 already? When did that happen, right? Because he's an efficient scorer. He doesn't need the ball in his hands too much, and he does a lot of things well. And what's very underrated, he impacts games also defensively. He gets deflections, he gets shot blocks, he gets rebounds. I mean, he fills up the stat sheet. So sometimes, you're just like, I wonder what his stats are. And you look at the box score, like you said, and you're like, oh my gosh. I mean, he had an impact on the game in so many ways.
He's a force. And I feel like no one talks about it or is talking about it.
I mean, he's an NBA champion, right? With Toronto. And I think he didn't get the love because, Kawhi kind of, stole the limelight, and rightfully so. But I mean, he was a big part of that team, and like I said, he does it quietly and he does it in his own way. So yeah, I think that's a great first pick there because he's been one of the reasons why they've been in this championship and why it's now going to 6 games. Haliburton has been a little bit inconsistent here in the finals, just with the great defensive guard play at the Thunder brings, and Siakam has really had to step up with his scoring, especially, and he has. So great pick there.
Yeah, thank you.
I'll go with the next one. My most surprising, also from the NBA, Thibodeau being canned. What
Okay.
the hell? What are we doing, New York?
Is this the least surprising or most surprising?
Yeah, that's a good question. I guess it was the most surprising for me. And then when you break it down, you go, well, it's the New York Knicks. Maybe it's not surprising.
Right.
Like that was the one that like took me like ajar, and I was like, what the hell are they doing?
With how much fun this like Indy and OKC series has been, I feel like that headline faded so quickly.
Yeah.
There has to be a bigger story behind it. It can't just be front office is doing what New York Knicks front office always does. There has to be another story, right? And I don't want this to be like Patriots fans never find out why Butler was benched against the Eagles.
Not gonna
you know what I mean? Like, I want to know what happened.
It's New York. There's drama. Something's going to come out. But I feel like I don't know, Doug, you probably know more about this than I do. But once you think if they made a decision like that, they have someone locked up, ready to go that is kind of off people's radar that they're like, this is a can't miss. We'll have to have him. Like, once these playoffs end, we're going to make a huge announcement and be like, that's why we fired Tibbs.
No, I mean, I think that's the most surprising part about this, right? Is that if you're gonna make this dramatic change when everything seemed to be going well, you better have
someone
plan of where you're going and an idea of what you're gonna do. It's like having this amazing girlfriend, and she's just great. You were down in the dumps before you met her. You just had terrible year after year, and then all of a sudden she just put joy in your life. She made people smile when you were with her. I mean, everything is going great. You had one little fight, but hey, it's been great so far. We can get over this. If you're going to get rid of her, you better have another girl just as good, if not lined up. You better have been on the apps for a couple weeks, and you better know where you're going if you're going to dump this girl. And I'll tell you what, I don't know what happened, because you don't just dump this girl who took you out of the dumps with not having a plan after the fact. Now you're
to the big dance.
You should have been on. You should be on the apps 2 weeks by now.
You were on the homecoming court.
That's the only way I can think about it.
It's a great way to put it.
What an analogy.
Yeah, that's the most surprising part of this. So I don't know where they go. I mean, there's a couple coaches out there. I think Taylor Jenkins, is a great coach that I think he didn't get a fair shake. He was a great coach for Memphis. So I think that's an opportunity. Malone is just like Tibbs.
Right.
He trusts his veterans, doesn't play his bench. So I don't feel like that's a good switch out.
Right. And then Hurley, probably not an option.
Right.
So Jay Wright already said no. So I'm just like, you go off the top of your head and you go, who is left that is going to be that like can't miss candidate?
Yeah, and they're going out. They first went after coaches who are already on contract. Like they went after Jason Kidd.
Right. That also, you think like Kidd's better than Tibbs at this moment in his career? Maybe he'll turn out to be great. I don't know, but it just feels like all the momentum was going in the correct direction for New York. The fans were excited. It's the first Eastern Conference Finals in 25 years. You got your star player gives you the seal of approval, right? That feels like a big deal. and then you decide 2 days later, now he's gone.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
it just feels like the most Knicks thing to do. So most surprised and least surprised, maybe it fits both.
Yeah, going back to my analogy, it's like they broke up with this amazing girlfriend, and then they went to other people's other boyfriends. Was like, hey, can I take your girl? What are you doing, dude? Get out of here! Like Mavs were like, no, you don't get to talk to my girlfriend. Get out of here! I don't. It's just interesting, and so it's very surprising they did that. Least surprising that it's the Knicks that are doing it.
Right.
So, yeah. So good one. Let's see. Do I want to start with the surprising or not surprising one? Let's go with surprising. Caruso being one of the most important players for the Thunder.
Ooh.
If you really watch the series, when they need when the young guys are, especially early in the games, they're not hitting shots, he comes in and he balances them out. He settles them down. He'll hit big shots in the biggest moments. In the game 7 against the Nuggets, he was the first one to start making shots to break it out of their shooting slump. I don't remember that game, even though it ended up being a blowout. The first quarter, the Nuggets were up, and they were going up big. OKC couldn't hit a shot. They had these young guys that it's game 7. They'd never been in a big time playoff game 7 like that. And Caruso came in and knocked some shots and they got him going again. And not just what he does offensively, but defensively, he was one of the best players I've ever seen guard Jokic. I mean, he battled the heck out of Jokic when Jokic was having a field day against the other two bigs. Like, that was the big change in that series, is they started putting Caruso on Jokic instead of Jokic on Chet or Hartenstein, right? And I think without Caruso, I don't think they win that series. I mean, it went to game 7, and I think it disrupted what Nuggets were trying to do those last couple games there. And then you go into this finals. I mean, once again, Caruso. He is locking up Haliburton. I know Dort they get changed onto him, but when you watch Caruso play, he does so many little things on defense. But it's been his offense this playoffs that has really come out. I mean, I think he's had a couple points either in the 20s or just around the 20s in these playoffs, which he had never done before. And I think that, I feel like, for me, is surprising. We know about his defense. We know about his hustle. But the fact that he's able to score the ball as much as he has on a consistent basis for this team, and almost being their de facto now starter. He was more of a bench guy in the regular season. Now he's getting starting minutes, starting plenty of playoff games already. So I think that's a surprise, because we either thought, we knew SGA was going to be good, but we thought maybe the X factor be some of the other guys, right? Chet, does he step up? Dort, does he step up? Does some of their other bench guys, Joe, step up? No, it's been Caruso, who's been kind of their third best player all playoffs. When you really think about it, it's been.
What would you liken his game to? Like, if you had to compare it to somebody who doesn't know ball, what would you compare Alex Caruso's game and presence on the court to?
In an analogy outside of basketball, or
if you could, and just make it to another player who's an impact player like Caruso is. Hearing you talk about it and the way that you kind of break down his game and his impact, my first reaction was to compare him to an Andre Pirlo. He has just a calming presence about him. He's the game's going to run through him and what he's bringing to the table. So, I mean, that was my gut reaction, was to liken him to
Julian
that.
Edelman.
Yeah,
Julian Edelman.
He does so many things well that don't show up in box scores. Yeah. Right. And I think that's the biggest thing, is if you really watch the games, the way he stunts off guys, the way he plays passing lanes, the way he doubles down as the second defender, and more importantly, the way he plays on the ball, making the guards work without fouling. Now, he's being physical and they'll let him get away with it, and that's a whole nother discussion. But hey, if you're not going to call it, I'm going to keep being physical. And the way he's able to guard guards, but the biggest thing, again, against Jokic, he was their best defender against them. I mean, that's insane when you think about it, right? I mean, it's the best player in the league. And again, we knew Caruso was a good defender. We knew he was good at the little things, but the most surprising thing has been his offense and his timely offense when they really need things settled down. He's like their only vet. Their guys are super young, and that was always the fear for the Thunder, was, hey, they're still too young. They haven't been this far. I think that signing was the most important signing that they made. The most important move they made this offseason was to get a veteran player who has won an NBA championship. He won it for the Lakers, and he's been there, and they needed someone like that. You couldn't just rely on all the inexperience, and it showed up. And that's the thing, it showed up. And I think that's just a surprising thing to think about when you think about the entire playoffs as its general, that he'd be this important.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I go least surprising now. I'm going to take it to the NHL, and the least surprising thing about the NHL playoffs has been Florida's gameplay. And I say that because, like, I feel like year in and year out, they've proved themselves to be just one of the most dominant teams. And they know how to win, and they know what it takes to get there. And you want to talk about most important signings, like you're talking about Alex Caruso. To me, the most important thing that the Panthers did was go out and get Brad Marchand.
Yes.
They went out and they got Brad Marchand for next to nothing, and he comes out and he's dominating. Like this is an old man who people thought was like, oh, he's just going to go to Florida and ride off into the sunset, kind of like Tom Brady. Well, now it's going to be even more like Tom Brady, because he's probably going to end up with another ring at the end of the season, because this guy is finding the net, and he's not just coming in just to get third line minutes and grind it out and, like taunt people and knock them off their game, which he's notorious for, but he's contributing in very meaningful ways and in huge spots. So I think least surprising for me is just Florida continues to be Florida, right? They're the embodiment of, if you want to be the champ, you got to beat the champ, and it goes through us.
Yeah, you took what I was going to do with least surprising. My least surprising was Florida as well. Getting back to the Stanley Cup, they were my pick to repeat. I mean, they know exactly who they are, and they are relentless. Every aspect of them in every single game is relentless. They play their exact same game, no matter what the score, what it is, what the situation. They're always playing the exact same game that they always do. They know exactly what they're doing and who they are. To me, like, it's the least surprising in the playoffs, but it's also one of the most surprising that no other team does that. And I don't know why. I don't know. You have to like try to be more physical when you play Florida. No, you don't. Just play your game. But Florida knows how to get under your skin and piss you off, and they just do what they always do. And it's one of my favorite teams to watch in recent memory. I'd say probably in the last like 10 years, this Florida Panthers.
Whoa, that's a statement.
That really is a statement. But I mean, I don't blame you. I don't blame you for saying that. Like, I kind of agree with you. They're fun to watch. Like, they're a team that you know at no
they're
point.
Gritty. They're smart. And one of the things that like Kachuk, we talk about Kachuk a lot. I think he's the smartest guy on the ice. Him and Bennett, I think, are the smartest players on the ice.
Well, Barkov. I mean,
Barkov. Is there a more underrated captain of a Stanley Cup
He's the Pascal
team?
Siakam of that team. Like, he's just being quiet and going about his business. Like, and to your point about them, like other teams like getting mixed up and like forgetting their identity, like at no point in the last couple of years when Florida's been making these deep runs in the playoffs, have we ever seen them go through an identity crisis? Correct. They always come out and execute. And like, if they get beat, they get beat, but they're going to come out and do pretty much the same stuff and be the same team the next night.
Sometimes the puck doesn't bounce your way, but they know over the course of 7 games, they're the tougher team. They're the more in shape team. They're the better team, and they're going to make it happen over the course of 7 games. So, yeah, I mean, it happens, right? It's the playoffs. All these teams are great. Puck doesn't bounce your way sometimes. Your goalies might be off, whatever it may be. Yeah. You're going to lose a game here, a couple games in a series, but at the end of the day, Florida's going to come out of there on top.
Yeah, I mean, going back to, Conlo, what you were talking about, Marchand, they always say in the draft, like, of course, this player falls to the Ravens. Like, of course you let this, of course Kyle Hamilton falls to the Ravens. That's a perfect Ravens player. Of course he falls to the Ravens, right? Why did the rest of the league let, Hamilton fall to the Ravens?
Of course this Eagles team gets another D lineman out of Georgia in the 31st pick or 32nd pick.
Of course the Ravens get Malachi Starks, the best safety in college football at 20, whatever it was, right? Well, that's how I felt about the Marshall. I was like, what is everyone NHL doing? Like, this is like, of course Florida Panthers get a guy who knows how to play playoff hockey, who plays playoff hockey in one of the best ways that you can play playoff hockey, and he's shown it over and over again. And yet everyone in the NHL was like, yeah, I don't know. And then they let Florida get him.
He fits so seamlessly into that team. You can name basically their entire roster, and they all play the exact same way, right?
But
like
the crazy thing is,
Barkov, maybe not, but Reinhardt just scored, by the way.
Hell yeah.
As this was going on, Kachuk, Bennett, they all play very, very similarly.
Remember when like seeing like the real-time reaction of, I think it was Boston's coach, walk into the war room on deadline day and he threw a fit. I'm pretty sure he threw some stuff across the wall. It was like, we just fucking dealt Marchie. Like, he couldn't believe it. Like, and that trade came from the top. Like, so I don't know, again, like, we talk front offices and front offices do it. That's an uncharacteristic move by a Boston front office. You know, like they let Bergeron play his career out there. They held on to Tim Thomas for as long as they could, like from a PR standpoint. Yeah, Tuca. I mean, it's like they're just some guys that are just ingrained in your team's identity, and they let him go for like chump change, pretty much. And I'm pretty sure that's the verbiage that the coach used. I'm pretty sure he said we let him go for chump change.
Yeah. I mean, it was a perfect signing. It's Florida knows what it takes to win, and they keep showing over and over again. So
fit in so
not
seamlessly
surprising at all.
Yeah,
good
one,
one.
boys. All right, so Stevie, that's the same one as yours.
Yeah, it was Florida. That was least surprising. I could go with another one if we want to keep going. Not necessarily in hockey. We can get back to the NBA a little bit, but least surprising is that we talk about the officials every single game.
Yeah.
And I don't know, Doug, you've watched the NBA like way more. I haven't watched like any of it, but I just see constantly people talk about the officials who like SGA gets every call. Like he even got a call on he got fouled on a jump ball last night. Like it's always something with the officials instead of what happens on the court, like instead of actual playing basketball.
Yes and no. I mean, I'll say this. The NBA refs have actually been pretty good these playoffs. I mean, there's so many foul calls, so much contact in a game. There's so many calls that there's going to be some ones that are iffy or questionable.
Right.
I think the people who complain about the officials nonstop are the people that just are lazy with their basketball takes, right? And it's just the lazy thing to do. It's like, I can't believe that call. That kind of changed. No, it didn't change the game. It was one call out of 60. Yeah. And the thing they're arguing is probably not even true what they're arguing.
Yes, I've seen a lot where like, where does this, like, look at Haliburton. He looks like he gets all ball there. I'm watching, I'm like, that clearly looks like he fouled the shit out of him. Like, what are we talking about?
Yeah. There's been, I would say there's been maybe two major ones. One was the Detroit Knicks ending, right, on the shot in the corner, right? Mm-hmm. That one actually that was a huge no call. I think the Knicks still end up winning the series, but that was a big one. And you can make a case for the OKC one where you got the push off and the traveling on Game 4 against the Pacers here recently. Those are the two big ones. Could you gripe about the officials every game? Yes and no. What I do like is that they're letting them play physical these playoffs. And as long as they're being consistent with that, I'm fine with it. Yeah, I mean, it is a thing, which actually got me to my not surprising thing on that OKC travel non-call. It's Scott Foster being the Mr. Extender.
The
extender. I mean, that's just not surprising at all. I mean, that was my number one not surprising list, was Scott Foster being undefeated for the team behind in a series when it needs to get
done.
That's
a wild stat.
I think it's a crazy stat like that in this playoffs.
The extender.
It's close, but don't quote me on that stat, but I think it's close. I did trying to find it real quick. But every time a team is down in a series and it's a big game, pivotal game, he finds a way, and that's not surprising. So other than that, I mean, we all know it's the NBA. It's going to probably be a little bit like that. But yeah, I think the people who are complaining these playoffs nonstop, I think they just like to complain about the officials in general.
Yeah, I agree.
It's almost part of the talking points, I guess, that they feel like they have to go into.
I would agree.
Least surprising. How about the Hurricanes and the Maple Leafs, especially the Hurricanes not getting out of the East again?
I mean,
at least they won a game this time.
Here's a stat. Here's Mr. Statman. You want to hear a stat?
Yeah.
They're 6-21 against the Atlantic teams in the playoffs since Rod Brindamore has been a coach, and they're 1-7 in series against the Atlantic. So basically in the past the second round. So basically in that Eastern Conference final.
I love the way they play too, because they play very similar to Florida. I just think Florida's a better version of them.
I think
yes and no. The Panthers, the Hurricanes, they literally will shoot it from anywhere.
That's true. Yes, they do.
I mean, they average the most shots per game out of any team coming into the playoffs.
They don't care about how good the shot is. They just throw it at the net. It's actually, that's why a lot of NHL analysis don't like watching them play because
I
it's
love it.
literally not fun. They just throw the ball, puck at the net, and hopefully something good happens. They don't try to work for a good shot attempt.
I mean, but it's the playoffs. You can't hope for like these like McDavid highlight reels, right? I mean, at the end of the day, like a goal is a goal is a goal is a goal.
I
I've
like that they chuck it.
always said
Pucks
this
on
is
net.
playoff hockey. Like when teams try to make that one extra pass to get like the wide open like backside net, like
But Combo,
no,
it
just
hasn't worked.
shoot it.
It
No,
hasn't worked. It
yeah,
hasn't worked.
yeah, no,
It's
you're
been proven
right.
that that kind of play does not work. It's 6-21. Like they have not gotten to the Eastern Conference Finals in 8 years since he's been coach.
And that, like the looking,
They don't play physical. That's the other thing that's different than the Panthers. They do not play physical at all. Panthers play physical. And so I disagree with the fact I think they want to be the Panthers, but they're not. And they don't play it the exact same way.
I think the sad thing about that play style, and like when you look at it from like the side of it that I think maybe you're looking at it, Doug, is that like eventually your luck runs out, right? Like the thought process behind playing that sort of like get pucks to the net, it doesn't matter if it's quality, get pucks to the net, something will happen. Like eventually you do, kind of like in baseball, like after so many at bats, you hit a slump, you hit a cold streak, and like things stop going your way.
What happens too is over the course of 7 games, typically the best team ends up winning, right? And I think Carolina overperforms a lot. And that's also part of this because I think Brind'Amour is a fantastic coach. And yes, like they were in the Eastern Conference Finals, right? This was they won 1 game in the series, right? And that was the first game they finally won a game in the Eastern Conference Finals. But yeah, raise the banner. Yeah, I agree. They want to be Florida and they're not there yet, but I don't mind watching them. I kind of like them. I think Slavin is a star. I think he's the best defenseman in the league.
Whoa, calm down.
He's a defensive defenseman, and every time he plays, he is in the correct position every single time he's on the ice. He is making the correct play every single time. When have you ever seen Slavin miss? Like maybe he's not an offensive defenseman, but I don't care about offensive defenseman. I want defensive defenseman.
No, and I knew you were gonna go that way because, like, obviously, like
you could go McConnell and you could go with all those guys and say, well, they have the stats. Slavin, to me, I'll take Slavin over any other defenseman. And I think you saw it in the Four Nations too. He was phenomenal.
He's not your point on your power play. If you want to say he's the best defensive defenseman in the league, I think you have a stronger argument. But there's so many guys that. Okay. I thought you said the best defenseman in the league.
I count that as the best defenseman because that's who I want as my defenseman.
But he's a one-way guy. He doesn't give you anything offensively. That's the problem.
There are one-way offensive defensemen that are strictly just there to
right. But I feel like it's great to have both. Why choose?
Who sits there atop your defenseman that's in there at both?
I mean, I think Victor Hedman's amazing.
Is he still the best now? He's getting up there in age.
I think Quinn Hughes for the Canucks is unbelievable.
Love Quinn Hughes.
I mean, he's unbelievable.
I really do like Quinn Hughes.
I'm a Slavin guy. I'm sticking with Slavin. He's my guy. What I saw in the Four Nations, what I saw with Carolina in the postseason, I just feel like he's always, because they always talk about how he's not the best skater. He's not the biggest. He's not the strongest. There's all these like physical limitations for him. And yet he's never in a bad position. He's so smart on the ice. He's always making the correct play.
That's the way to put it.
He's always getting his stick on the puck. He's always getting his body in the right position. Playing against the best offensively skilled players in the world, and he was phenomenal against them. I mean, he was eating up McDavid in the Four Nations.
I think it would come down to like if we were like doing like if we were doing like a fantasy draft or like even just like
he's not a fantasy player.
If we were all so if we were all owners trying to come up with our own teams, like let's say we were gonna play like an NHL season, right? Play it on the game. It comes down to I think like draft ideological differences, right? I know that you value the wall back there in the D zone. Okay. I know that about you. So that makes sense why that's your pick. Right. And there is another side to it, right? Like typically like you would want to see someone like that paired with someone that could go up and get it done, right? If you were to put like Slavin and Makar on the same line, that would be dominance, right? Because like you want some sort of dual threat from your blue line, and having like an anchor like Slavin, I do agree with you, is very, very valuable.
Yeah, for sure. So living the Maple Leafs not getting to the Stanley Cup once again is just not surprising.
Yeah, no, not
Yeah,
even
yeah.
See
not
that
even
coming a mile away.
remotely.
Yes.
If you said make one prediction for the NHL
I was
playoffs,
like
I would have
the
put
Toronto
all my
side.
money on those two things.
I agree. Toronto not getting there is just hilarious. They haven't won since what, 1963?
Something like that.
And their popularity is that of the Yankees and the Cowboys, right? That's so like
Apropos.
outrageous.
They last made the Stanley Cup final in 1966-67.
Last made the final in 1967. Last won in 63. That's crazy. Well, most likely this year we're not going to have another Canadian team if this Florida score holds steady at 1-0 right now.
Yep.
Yeah.
All right. Kamlo, you have another one on your list.
All right, so are we doing like most and least for both sports? So I owe you a least surprising for
You do whatever.
basketball.
Whichever you want.
Okay.
Doesn't need to be.
Let's see. I'm gonna bring it to Washington, and I'm gonna say that it's the least surprising thing, and that was T.J. Oshie's retirement announcement. I think that's kind of a writing on the wall thing. I think, Doug, you're probably right there with me. I think we were all expecting Oshie to kind of call it right after a wonderful career. But I think another thing that was least surprising about it was how it was handled. I think that the way that they went about presenting it and making a free event at like a very memorable spot at the fountains right there where they were all swimming with the cup at the Nats game. I think everything that came out of that was just pure, unadulterated class. It was classy AF. And I think the other least surprising thing that came out of it was just how heartfelt it really was. Oh, call him. That's awesome.
Not like he's probably going to hear this or anything, but
Yeah.
I've been training his daughter all spring.
No way.
So cool.
So yeah, we've been texting.
That's insane.
We gotta get him on the show.
Oh man, no,
He said on Monday, on June 9th, hey Doug, I have a retirement announcement tonight. Unfortunately, won't be able to make training.
that's wild. I mean,
so I just congratulated him and said, congrats on an amazing career, stuff like that. So
yeah, no, I mean, that's so special. Screenshot that, save it, upload it to the cloud, hold on to it forever, dude. Because I think like the one of the many things that came out of his retirement announcement where he goes on to say, every time I put the skates on, I gave my team and I gave my teammates everything I had. That's really like what you expected from him. And it's the standard that he held himself to, and it's the standard that came to be like expected of him as a fan, and I think, in the time that Tess and I have been together, she got really into hockey and got like really invested in the Caps and adopted TJ Oshie as her favorite player. We got her a jersey for Christmas. And I think like that's one of the things that like attracts people to the game is when like it's just so visible that you play it with so much heart and you play it with like just the insane amount of passion that he did. And like he did it in a way that made it look so much fun, right? Like I used to love like watching like the Caps Instagram page the day of games and watching him and Wilson and their antics and him and Ovi like getting chest to chest, like firing each other up. Like he had a switch that he would flip for sure, warm-ups and pregame, it was fun and like team building. And then the puck drops, the switch flips, and he was just an Iron Man out there. And it's everything about like the retirement announcement, I think wasn't surprising, and that like how emotional it was, how heartfelt it was, and just how classy that the Capitals organization did it for a guy who helped bring him a cup.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
How long was he on the Caps? 2014 to 2025?
He did something like that. I know he played over 500
games
Blues with the Caps
to start his career, right?
Yeah, he did 400 games with the Blues, I think, and then 500 some games with the Caps.
The summer of 2015 is when he was traded from the Blues.
That was right after
the Olympics.
right?
Right after Sochi.
Right after Okay, that's what I thought.
Peak of his popularity.
Yeah. I will never
maybe
forget.
not the peak, but like that was at the time. That was like as high as T.J. Oshie stock had
100%.
ever been.
I will never forget where I was watching him score those goals.
I was on the couch on Lawrence Street in my townhouse in Radford at like 8 a.m.
Morgantown, West Virginia, with a 90s TV that weighed 700 pounds for 30 inches. Because instead of buying $100, $150, 30-inch TV that weighed nothing, we said, we need to get this out of our house. You take it, it's free. So I lugged it up 3 flights of stairs, watched T.J. Oshie.
Jeez, yeah, dude, and it was in Russia, so it was an early morning game. We were up at like had to been like 7, 8 o'clock watching that game.
Yeah, he one of my favorite Caps players ever.
100%
for sure. He's in easily the top 6, top 5. I'd have to really think about it because of this old
Donald Brashear.
You have the old guys like Peter Bodge and Olaf Kolzig, as my first ever guys I looked up to as a Caps fan.
Yeah.
Then you got the new generation of, Ovechkin, Oshie, I think is up there. I think it's right there. And then Jay Beagle is just a little close to my heart too.
Oh, I love Jay Beagle, dude.
I just love that dude as well.
Beagle was a dog.
Yep.
Pun intended there.
Yeah. A good one. I like that. Thank you. Good catch.
All right. Good one. But going back to like the Caps organization, you hear everyone talk about the Caps organization. Any new player that comes to the Caps, they're like
in love.
They're in love with it, and they say it's so much different than a lot of teams they've been on. So it's just another example.
Mm-hmm. Why did they get rid of Trotz?
I don't think Trotz wanted to stay.
Yeah, that's a whole debate. It's still not known what exactly happened.
Mm-hmm.
That's your Bill Belichick.
That's our Thibodeau.
Because that made I didn't understand that one. I was like, pay this man whatever the hell he wants. Like, keep him. He just brought you a Stanley Cup.
Yeah, I think it's.
I digest.
Yeah. Anything for you left for you, Veshy?
You know what I want to go with most surprising? We talked about Tyrese Haliburton like extensively over the course of these playoffs, but the clutch factor that he feels like he is becoming one of the most clutch players ever. I mean, he's hit 4 game-winning shots in this postseason. I mean, at least, right? I think it might actually be more game-winning or game-tying shots.
He has won a series, I believe.
Won a series. That's crazy. He's someone where if the game is on the line, I want the ball in his hands. And I want at the same level of I want the ball in his hands as Kobe Bryant.
Wow.
As like it feels that way because you at this point it's not a fluke, right? You make 1 or 2, it's a fluke, whatever. Like, okay, I get it. He's consistent at it. He's clutch at it.
Yeah, he's had 4 go-ahead or game-time buckets in the final 5 seconds.
Crazy in the postseason. Like, right? Yeah. It's not like it's regular season.
Yeah, just this postseason. Yeah, it's been crazy, but I need to see it
over the course of
years, over many postseasons or playoffs for me to kind of go to that level. But I agree. I mean, he's been a revelation this playoffs in terms of
that's something that I just
he got locked up last night.
Right? I didn't see that coming into this postseason because I liked Indiana. I liked their story. I liked their team makeup, all that stuff. Like, it was fun watching them last year getting the postseason, but I honestly didn't expect them to go deep into it and to see Haliburton will his team to victories and to do those things in clutch moments in the biggest stages and to give the Reggie Miller choke to New York. How fantastic was that?
Yeah, I agree. He's been a great player and he always makes the right play. He struggled this finals, but up until this point, yeah, he's been their best, their best player, especially when in the clutch moments.
So, all right. So with him, he's got a calf strain, right? I don't know how, like, what degree level that calf strain is, but I don't know if you've ever had a calf strain or strained any muscles there, Doug. How is he going to play?
It depends on the severity of it. It's going to affect his lift.
Yeah, I mean, that's a bad spot.
Lift. And what I'm curious is how well he's going to be able to stop and plant. That's the other thing, or push off. Is that first step, explosive first step? You got to explode off one of the 2 legs almost every time, right? So, what's that explosion going to look like? But leads me into my one of my most surprising things. T.J. McConnell being one of the best Pacers guards in the finals. I mean, he
Let's go.
has been you can make a case he's been the best Pacers guard in the finals when you look at his overall play and what he's done with his minutes. Nembhard has not been shooting it well recently. Nesmith plays great defensive stuff. He's done some stuff in some games offensively. But in terms of like giving the Pacers unbelievable minutes when he's in there, I mean, it's unbelievable. Like, and I always, like last game, they should have rolled with him. They saw how well he was killing in that third quarter. I think he had 13 points in the third quarter alone.
He ended up with like what, 20? It was like 20 points in like 22 minutes or something like that.
I literally texted my college teammate who's a big Pacers fan, and he's like, I don't know why we were like, why is he out? We saw Haliburton was not up to speed. We could tell something was up with him.
Yeah, he was not looking like his normal self.
I know it would have been risky to not put, again, going back to your former point, one of the best players in the playoffs back in the game. But we've seen Haliburton struggle in the finals, and now with the calf strain, you know, I think you had to ride TJ because, again, going back to it, TJ was unbelievable. And I've been saying it to a couple guys so far. Every moment he's come into the game in the finals, he has hit huge buckets and it's given him a lift. In game one, it could have easily gotten away. That game could have easily gotten away from 10 points to 20 points, but he hit a three. He hit a tough baseline layup. He got a steal that kind of kept that game between 10 points and 12 points to go into halftime, which then they end up coming back and winning. But that was critical because if that game had blossomed a 20-point lead by halftime, pack it up, go home. It's game one loss right there and there. And so he's been doing it, but he finally got enough minutes because of Haliburton's injury for I feel like everyone to see how well he's playing against right now and against these Thunder guards. You know, these Thunder guards are quick and they're strong. And a lot of times quick and strong guards love playing bigger guards than them, right? What they hate is playing someone equally, if not smaller and quicker than them. Yes. You know, taking my game, you know, being one of the smallest guys on the court, but also one of the quickest guys on the court, I would much rather play a 6'3" lanky guard than to play another 5'8" guy who's, if not quicker, just as quick as me, because it took away my advantage. And you see TJ doing that where these Thunder guards, it's almost like a different pitcher comes into the game and you're just like, well, wait, this is different.
Yeah, corners talk about movements. That. Yeah, cornerbacks talk about that in the NFL, right? They've asked them, would you rather guard the Julio Jones, Calvin Johnson type player or the Julian Edelman, slot guy that's small and quick? Wes Welker, all those, and they every single time they're like, I'd rather guard the bigger guy.
Yep.
Guarding those smaller, quicker guys in space is a nightmare.
Yep. Yeah, and especially when you're going against a guy normally like Haliburton or Nesmith, who's long, they have longer strides. They're not as quick twitchy. They're still quick, but we're not as shifty. And you saw in that game last night, McConnell continually get onto the guy's hips, continually get by guys, continually get into the paint, to his floater, to even the rim. And you wouldn't think a guy like T.J. McConnell in this series, right? You would not think on the surface level, hey, the 6'1" guard is going to get to the rim against the Thunder, right? But it makes sense when you think about it in that way. And I think that's been just again, I don't think anyone had that on the bingo card. In the finals, one of the best guards the Pacers are going to throw out there is T.J. McConnell. That was for me.
That's a good one. That's a really good one.
The pride of Arizona.
And I think he's from Pittsburgh too, right?
Yes, yeah. I believe he went to Duquesne first.
Yeah.
Or Duquesne High School or some shit
Pittsburgh
like that.
high school legend, yeah.
Yeah. He's a Yinzer.
And then another not surprising I had, I'll go back to back here, is
a
fun one. LeBron blaming everyone but himself for losing again in the playoffs.
Great one.
Just could have had that one on the bingo card. I would have definitely bet money on that one immediately after the game.
That's
it's because we didn't have a center. Okay, LeBron, you claim you're the best. And every time you hit that, it definitely wasn't because you're a walking sieve on defense. It's definitely not that. It's definitely not because you could not hit the three in a couple of those games. It's definitely not that. It's definitely because, you guys just got beaten up inside. But it's not his fault ever. Anyways, that's surprising at all.
Hilarious.
Yeah, that's
LeBron,
so
not my goat,
funny.
the James.
Yeah, that's so fun. No, so the reason I'm like tisking and shaking my head at that is right now my internet algorithm is heavy with basketball but it's like the generation of basketball that we grew up with, right? So it's a lot of Kobe. There's some MJ mixed in there. And then like if I scroll long enough, I'll eventually hit like Magic and Larry, and like it's highlight reel plays and it's hilarious interviews and stories that people have about playing against these legends. And it's just so funny because every now and then I'll get one where it's like people talking about like Kobe or LeBron or Jordan or LeBron, and like none of these old heads, like when it comes to that conversation, put any respect on LeBron's name. And I agree with them. I agree with them. If it's who would win in a 1v1, prime Jordan or LeBron, and like you talking about LeBron versus Black Jesus, and it's so funny to like just watch and think about, because like I don't think I'll ever see him that
Also,
way.
basketball is not who's better at 1-on-1.
No, it's not.
Jordan had 7 all first team defensive awards.
Yes.
Yeah.
LeBron, I don't think LeBron has one. Like I think that shuts the case on itself then and there, right?
A liability.
It's more than just numbers.
Right, you gotta play both ways, right?
Who plays 1-on-1?
This is basketball. It's not just an offensive sport. As much as the NBA keeps pushing that and keeps wanting to bring that, because
especially in
scores,
Jordan's era,
the scores have been just outrageous the last few years. Like you're looking at teams that are averaging like 115 a game.
Yeah.
Like it wasn't that long ago when we were getting like when you got over 100, 105, it was like, damn, they're putting up points.
No, you think it's funny?
That was like Steve Nash.
Go to like the NBA like team stats page and look at like average score for and average scored against numbers. It's laughable, dude. It's laughable.
Yeah. Well, not to sidetrack us into a LeBron James convo, but it's not surprising he didn't point the finger this way.
Yeah. With all due respect.
It's always out. I mean, it's been 20 years of this, so yeah. Again, could have seen that one coming.
Yeah. Yeah, a mile down the road you could have seen that one coming.
Anyone else have anything else?
Yeah, one more. Least surprising, TNT continues to be just the best channel to watch playoffs on, whether it was the 100%. NBA or whether it was the NHL. Their broadcast teams, there's just always like better chemistry than the other networks. And like take the local ones out of it, right? So like take Monumental out of it, take like your Bally Sports teams out of it. Like if we're talking major networks, the TNT networks are just far superior because it's so much more organic. It's so much more fun. You feel like you're there chopping it up with the guys, and the coverage is so much better. And even like in-game coverage, right? So if you take like the Barkley, Shaq, Biz, Gretzky out of it, right? And you just talk about the guys that are in the booth and the production teams that are like casting the games, it's better.
Kenny Albert's doing TNT.
Yes. So I can't stand watching the ESPN broadcast, and I understand they're trying to make hockey more reachable and more accessible and fun. Yeah. But what I can't stand is how they have the circles underneath the players with the name tag above them, or they have like the comet trail behind the puck every time it's passed or shot. I can't stand it. And it only shows up on ESPN. But like the TNT, the True TV coverage, outstanding. It's outstanding. It's not forced. It's, again, organic. I love it, and it continues to be an arm and a leg above all the other national broadcasts.
That's a great one. I always say this: TNT, NBA, and NHL halftime and post game studio show, I actually look forward to.
Right.
The ESPN one, I change the channel and just wait for the game to come back on.
Yeah, I'll go watch the YouTube video, go switch the laundry out,
Exactly.
Not watching it.
That's the clearest way I could say it, right?
Yeah, I want to listen to Henrik Lundqvist.
Yes.
Right. I mean, and I think the contrast between a Henrik Lundqvist with Gretzky with a Biz, and they all know Biz and Biz is smart too. That's the thing. He's not just a buffoon. Like he's actually
he knows what he's doing. Yeah.
And they let him be him. They don't try to PC control him. They don't try to say you can't say this or you can't do that. And they let him fly, just like
it's natural.
Oh, the chirping he does with the players in like the after game interviews, it's hilarious.
But he's not doing
PK couldn't do that. PK could do that.
PK would try to do that, but like with PK, everything feels forced.
Well, I think it's also because I think another part of it is I think ESPN wouldn't allow. I don't think ESPN would allow Biz to be
That's a
Biz on
that's
his
a great
show,
way to
right?
put it. Yeah.
Right,
There's
So
only room for one guy in that network to be themselves. It's Pat McAfee.
Yeah, right.
yes,
I think they try to PC control everybody, right? And so
I got to throw out Anson Carter too. Anson Carter's phenomenal. I love Anson Carter.
He is, yeah. I
Sorry.
mean, I'm looking at these
Yeah.
guys right now in the intermission report, and the host. He's awesome. I look up his name because he's been doing this for a while.
Yeah.
He's been fantastic.
Yeah, I thoroughly enjoy the TNT coverage.
Yep, that's a great poll. That's a great one.
I think that's my last one. I'm glad I was able to pull that
That's
one
the
out.
host is Liam
Who?
Liam McHugh.
Gotcha.
Yeah, he's really, really good. Yeah, I mean you have people talked about that on social media, like we're looking at TNT's got Gretzky between the games talking, and the NBA has Kendrick Perkins. And it's like
Big
it's
Perk.
a little bit different, right? You throw
Big. I like Big Perk though, dude. I like Big Perk.
He is the worst. He is the worst take. He's so dumb. I can't even listen to it. I have to walk away.
This is why. This is
like
why,
Big
right?
Perk.
Gretzky, Perkins. Who are you gonna
That's
listen
not
to?
fair. That's not fair.
That is fair. You're
Perk
ESPN.
isn't there. Perk
You're
is
the biggest. Right, but where is your ESPN? Where are your stars? Right. I mean, you have Chuck and Shaq on TNT. Right. Where are your guys on
Kenny too.
Like, and Kenny the Jet. Fantastic in those old NBA was it like 2006, 2007, NBA 07.
Yeah.
Kenny the Jet Smith, when they started doing, I think Melo was on the cover for that with Denver.
Yeah.
And they started doing the dunk contests. Remember those?
Yes, I do. Yes, I do.
I want to say kind of really 09. I'm going to go with 09, NBA 09, Melo is on the cover.
I think a more apt comparison to having a Gretzky on your desk, the ESPN side of it, wouldn't that be Messier? Because Messier's on.
It's not, yeah, but I guess. I mean, I guess there really isn't.
I think it's unfair to go
there isn't really a close
Gretzky to
second.
Big Perk.
But that.
Well, it's Charles
it
Barkley
should
and
be.
Shaq versus. It's Charles Barkley and Shaq versus
Right.
Perk.
Yes. But yeah, that's not fair. They're so fucking funny, dude. That's the other part of my algorithm right now is like the best NBA on TNT moments.
But that's the thing. They're not only funny. Like Charles Barkley actually, every time people always like give him crap. Every one of his takes, I agree with. Like everything he says is actually smart. Like he's actually a smart. I mean, he's one of the best players to ever play the game. Perk, not the case, right? And his takes are not smart, and he's not funny. So what are we doing with him up there, right? It's just feeding the fire.
Yeah.
Great. Vashi, any others for you?
05 was Melo. No, I'm just looking at these NBA Live covered. By the way, the NBA Live cover athletes are fantastic. Guess. It's so I don't know. It's like nostalgia going back to.
He's in a rabbit hole.
I am absolutely in a rabbit.
Pull him out.
5 was Melo on the Nuggets. 6 was Dwayne Wade. 7 was T-Mac on the Rockets.
Oh, that's a good one.
Guess who was on NBA Live 08? Washington fans.
John Wall?
Gilbert in the those mustard.
Yes,
gold
the mustard gill jersey,
jerseys.
dude. I'm pretty sure your brother has one.
He does.
Nick does have a gold gill jersey.
While we're talking about best NBA Live ever, 2003. Yep.
Look at this.
Agent Zero, baby. Agent Zero.
God, that jersey.
Okay, Doug, what do you got? While we're talking about NBA Live covers.
Sorry, I had to go.
Well, I was just saying the best NBA Live was 2003, in my opinion, the Jason Kidd cover.
Jason Kidd. Okay.
That was the
Can you
best
pull
one.
that up? I don't think I could remember that one.
The best soundtrack. They had the best soundtrack.
The soundtracks for the games in
Best
the early
control.
2000s were
Yeah,
next
okay.
level.
I remember this. Give me a second.
Yeah, the soundtracks were awesome. Oh, yeah.
It's the white jersey.
Oh, yeah.
The white jersey.
Yeah, the white jersey.
Look at him go.
Dude, I tell you, there's some
Some
names on it. Tony Parker was on 09.
Jesus Christ.
I just started going down a rabbit hole with all that.
Yes, you did. And I'm not going to fault you for it. It was a good one.
These were the best games. Best soundtracks. I mean, I still talk about the NHL 07 soundtrack because I'll hear a song, I go, that was on NHL 07.
Nice.
Fuck yeah.
Anti-flag.
Anything else with you, Vashi?
No. We need to turn the page here.
Just Just some quick ones to close out that we didn't get to, or we'll just touch on real quick that I had on the list when I was thinking about this. Not surprising, Jokic proving he's still the best player in the world.
Okay.
The fact that that Nuggets team took these Thunder team to 7 games and honestly could have won that series if a few things happened differently in Game 5. It's just unbelievable. I mean, what he did in that series on his back and just carried that Nuggets team to 7 games. I mean, when you look at who else did they have that was scoring the ball? No one. I mean, it was unbelievable. I mean, what he did in that series, I mean, it's a crime he wasn't the MVP this again. I mean, he had a game where he had 44, 15, and 5. Another game. I mean, this is just ridiculous. In game 1, he was 42, 22, and 6.
God.
That's stupid.
Crazy.
I mean, he had 2 games where he had double doubles with over 42 points.
That's unreal.
Yeah.
I mean,
that's not normal.
It was unbelievable to watch, and I felt bad for him that he was getting no help, but he was still doing everything he did. This Thunder's team that, yeah, that one was not surprising that Jokic once again shows he's the best player in the world. The other one I had, this was a fun one. Not surprising, the NBA rigging the NBA draft.
Yeah.
Why did I know that was going to happen? Why did I know my Wizards, when they have a chance for the number 1 pick, actually gets the worst odds ever and slotted down all the way to the worst pick they could have, which was 6?
Why?
Yeah.
Why does the NBA do this? This was to
It makes no sense.
incentivize not tanking. Is that what?
Don't make me put my conspiracy hat on. I will.
I've put my tinfoil hat on several times.
I am convinced the NBA knew the Lakers were going to be in trouble for the next few years. That is our staple franchise. They always had a star, right? Throughout the years of the NBA.
So they told Dallas.
And they said, listen,
okay,
you're thinking about trading. We've heard you're talking about Luka. That's fine, but only talk to the Lakers. And if you don't shop them around and just figure out something with the Lakers, don't worry, we'll take care of you.
Wink.
Enjoy Cooper Flag.
Right? Because at the time, and I said this on my podcast for those of you guys who remember who listened.
I listened.
It wasn't so much of trading Luka. It was the fact that they refused to even shop him around or get better offers and then come back to the Lakers. If you really want Anthony Davis, say, no, give us that first round draft pick, because this is what the other offers we got. No, give us Reeves with, Davis.
Yeah.
The fact that you don't shop around a top 5 player in the NBA at the time was the most ludicrous thing that has ever happened in an NBA trade. And everyone was saying this, right? And it wasn't, and I think that's what I feel like the common fan didn't understand was, yeah, trading Luka's, it's crazy, but that wasn't the thing I was most upset about. It was not shopping around, right? Your house, right?
Did they ever address that?
No.
Did they ever come out and say why they didn't?
I'm guessing
they never
leads to your
addressed
next point.
They never addressed it, but now it makes sense why they didn't shop it around.
Yes.
Correct. And it's not like they got the number 3 pick. It's not like they got the number 4 pick. It's not like they got the number 2 pick. They got what was the odds? Was it less than 1%? 1.2%?
Yeah, it was something stupid.
Of getting
like
the number 1 pick.
Just so happened to work.
Oh, now you go back. Like, now I know why you wouldn't shop around Luka. Because you had Cooper Flag coming home, baby.
Yeah.
Right? That was part of the deal, right?
I'm pretty sure Paige Becker said something to that effect in her interview after being selected for the Dallas Wings. I'm pretty sure she said, yeah, in Dallas we're gonna represent, we gotta match. We gotta have matching picks here. It was something stupid like that. I was like, you have no idea what you're stirring up, lady.
So the NBA rigging the draft is and by the way, we'll give Spurs Spurs, yeah, we'll help you guys out pair a guard with one of the next young up and coming players in the league to jumpstart yours.
A tradition like no other.
Yeah, so that was the least surprising of how obvious it was. They couldn't just, all right, that probably is 2.
Maybe we should give you number 3.
Maybe give them the 2 or 3rd pick.
Yeah.
You think?
Just super bold.
It's what?
Yeah. They don't give a
They don't give it. They don't give it. It's entertainment. We gotta keep remembering.
That's a good point.
No, that was the big one that I had. So
that's a good one.
That's funny.
Well,
yeah, I really like that.
Good one, boys. Any last thoughts there?
I would love to talk a little MLB action if you would be so kind.
Go ahead.
You want to go back to baseball?
Yes, I do want to go back to baseball. Well, because Doug mentioned
It's Orioles
a trade that was a trade in the NBA that also seemed very, very similar in the MLB with Devers being traded. Let's go back three days before, and the Red Sox sweep the Yankees. By the way, I don't know if you guys watched any of that series, but Crochet versus Judge in the ninth inning in a 1-run game. It was 1-0, top 9. Crochet has struck out Judge every single time he's faced him and was looking for a complete game shutout. Throws his last 3 fastballs at over 100 miles an hour. Hadn't reached 100 the entire game. These are pitches 105, 106, 107, but misses his location just enough. Judge hits one 450 over the monster. And it was like, this is why we watch baseball. It was a matchup of superstars. Crochet is becoming an absolute stud for the Red Sox, but Judge is the best player on the planet right now and has been for the last 2 years.
Yeah.
And to see that like real time, it was like that's why we love baseball. That's why we watch baseball. But fast forward to like 2 days later, Devers gets shipped out. And now it's a whole, maybe the Red Sox are going to pull some strings here in the offseason, their tinfoil hat.
Yeah.
Because that seemed odd. But I also kind of understood Devers seems like he didn't want to be there. And it was like, we're done with you. We're sick of it. But similar to what you said, Doug, the haul they got for him stunk. The pitchers they got are not established pitchers. They may turn out to be something good. And Tibbs, the minor leaguer from Florida State, I really liked him out of Florida State. But he's in, I think, high A right now. So he's got some time before he gets to the show. If he does get to the show, it's not a guarantee in baseball, right? It's not like the other sports. Mm-hmm. So to that, for him to be the best prospect, you get Jordan Hicks, who's got a career ERA of like 4.5. It seemed like you didn't get enough for that trade. I don't mind you trading him because you have Bregman playing third, because he's unwilling to play DH and first base for your team. I don't mind trading him. I need more. I need to get the proper pieces for him, especially after you just swept the Yankees and are feeling good in that division. Like, you got some work to do, but you're feeling pretty good. You're over 500 now. And then this happens.
See, I think, and you and I were talking a little bit before we started recording about that trade. And I think that trade says, to me at least, it says more about Devers than it does about the Red Sox front office. Because, like, yeah, he made a big song and dance about, like, what positions he will and won't play. And, like, he was very vocal, and, like, that's not a locker room guy. So, like, talking about it with some friends at work today and talking about it with some other people, you know, just bringing it up and, like, seeing what people are saying, like, to me it says that Devers is a detriment in the locker room, and that he's at least in Boston, right? It was me.
But the other side of it is his skill set, his offensive skill, does it outweigh that? Does it outweigh his defense? Does it outweigh that? And to me, honestly, I don't think it does at this point because of his unwillingness to move the positions. And then he goes to San Francisco and says, I'll play DH, I'll play first, no problem. Until he makes 3 errors at first base and they go, this guy stinks at first.
I mean, that's a PR person telling him, like, dude, help your image here.
Because guess what? You're not playing third base in San Francisco because they just paid Matt Chapman a lot of money, who's the best defensive third baseman in the game. So that guy's going to be there at third base. He's injured right now, so you might get some play at third to start this. But when Chapman comes back, that's his position. It's not yours.
Yeah.
So that it's going to be interesting to see. Like, Buster Posey, by the way, is the one pulling the strings over there in San Fran. I don't know if you guys knew that.
Oh, I didn't.
I didn't know that. I didn't know that either until this happened. I was like, Buster Posey's making the deals?
Wow.
That guy's got 3 rings.
Climbing the ladder. All right,
probably,
so yeah, I mean, the dude knows ball.
I don't know. Interesting. Thought that was fun out of MLB.
Let's keep an eye on those draft picks.
Yeah. By the way, Doug, are you a Detroit Tigers fan?
Orioles.
Oh, he's an O's fan.
You're an O's fan, so it's just Mike.
Mike. I mean,
Mike.
yeah.
Okay.
The Lions and the the Ravens. My first teams are always the Baltimore,
Okay.
Cavs, Ravens, Orioles. That's his second team. And then if the Orioles are
Switch
out of the
it.
playoffs, I'll cheer for my dad's team, the Tigers. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, Tigers might be the best team in baseball right now.
Yeah.
And they've been my pick. They've been my pick since the start of the year to go to the World Series from the AL. So I'm all in on the Tigers.
Mark that.
I mean, Screwball is unbelievable.
They've got a lot of pieces, and Tinch knows what he's doing, right? What a great manager to rebuild your team and your franchise. I love Detroit this year. I think they're built to go deep. But moving on from MLB, College World Series, Gage Wood.
Did you see that psycho last night? Was it last night? Yeah.
Yeah, last night.
Oh
No
my
hitter. I think it was the
gosh.
third no hitter ever, or
Yeah.
second no hitter ever in the College World Series, and he struck out 19.
Did you see his interview after the game?
No, I missed that.
They were like, it started out very like generic, like, oh, like, Gage, what are your thoughts on the game? And he was like, I shouldn't have hit that guy.
They called that guy out, right, for leaning in, which is garbage, by the way.
No, because that's what stopped him from having a perfect game was the hit by pitch.
Was? Okay.
Yeah, so had it not been for the hit by pitch, he would have had a perfect game in the College World Series, and that's why he said that after the game.
Striking out 19.
Dude, yeah, he strike
the
out
College
19,
World Series.
and then you're on Pat McAfee the next day.
That's
Oh my gosh, yeah, that was
crazy.
dude, that was electric. Absolutely electric. Good
He
for
was
him, dude.
painting 98.
And I know that was probably something extra special for you because that dude had that Scherzer psycho look in his eye.
I do love Scherzer.
When that last batter called timeout on him, and he's I was like, oh my god, he's gonna charge the plate.
Next one's going between your ribs.
Yeah. And did you hear the announcers? They were like, he's about to throw the fastest ball we've seen all night. Like, this looks like this kid could throw 102 right now.
He did also, with the Max Scherzer level of like insanity and psychoness. Yeah, he did say my arm's available. Like next day, let's go.
Let's go.
And I was like, this dude just threw like 110 pitches, struck out 19. He's like, my arm's
Google alerts. I want to know when he's on the mound next.
I think he's number 50 prospect or something in this year's draft.
Yeah, it was something like that. Dude's that's awesome.
But great story for Arkansas. He was actually, I think he grew up with one of the guys on the Murray State team, like went to high school with them. They're like from some small town in Arkansas, and like both made it to the College World Series. Is like such a wild moment.
How can you not be romantic about baseball?
I love it. But that's all I've got.
Okay. All right. Yeah, I'm good too. Doug, you got anything else for us?
That's it. Hopefully we get one Game 7. That's all.
I would love Game 7.
Florida. By the way, Florida's up to as of right now.
Yeah, well, we've seen this before.
We have. Before.
This
We're
series
5
has
minutes.
been wild.
We're 5 minutes into the second period. So
I'm hoping for Game 7.
Kachuk and Reinhardt are the goal scorers. Just
I'm about to go. I'm about to go crack a beer and watch this game on the couch.
All right, take it easy, guys.
All right.
All right.
See ya.
Thank y'all.
Yeah.